Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the third of CSW Group's series of webinars, Inspiring Futures. So this is a series of webinars that we're running all week, and each one is going to be dealing with a different topic to help students think about their career options and also think about entering the world of work. So today we'll be hearing from my colleague, career development consultant Stuart Allen, and he's going to be talking to you about the benefits of volunteering. So while Stuart's talking, you'll notice that there is a Q&A box on Zoom. You're more than welcome to enter any live questions there, and we'll happily answer as many of those as we can at the end. If you're in a class with a teacher, perhaps you'd like to pass your question to the teacher, and perhaps they can enter it on your behalf. So, without further ado, I'll hand you over to Stuart.
Thank you. Yes, as said, I am Stuart Allen. I'm a career development consultant based in Plymouth. And my presentation is on how can I benefit from becoming a volunteer. So, just to begin with, what is volunteering? So volunteering is about giving your time and skills without pay for the benefit of others, the local community, and also for yourself. And you can volunteer in many different ways and in many different settings. And you will see some of these kind of settings as we go through the presentation. What are the benefits of volunteering to the individual? So first of all, volunteering is proven to provide many benefits to both mental and physical health. Volunteering helps with the effects of stress, anger, and anxiety. The social aspect, the interaction with others, helps have a positive effect on your overall psychological well-being. And volunteering gives the opportunity to meet new people, try new things, and have fun. And volunteering is a great way to stand out from the crowd when you're looking for work. So having volunteering on your CV or on an application form looks really positive in any future applications. So how else may volunteering help me? So volunteering can help you with your career by enabling you to learn new things. So a lot of it will depend on what kind of volunteering role you could do, but some of the examples of how you could learn new things, you could learn how to do admin tasks in an office situation. You could learn how to give good customer service skills. You could learn about events and how they're planned. You could learn generally how businesses work. Volunteering can also help you to gain new skills and confidence. So in our series of webinars, there's different things that look at this kind of skills and abilities you need for jobs. And later on in this presentation, I'll talk a bit more about the kind of skills that volunteering can give you. Also, volunteering is really good for confidence. So one of the things that people often lack when they're looking for work or when they're moving from school to college or school into an apprenticeship is confidence. And volunteering can really be good at sort of making you feel confident in yourself that you can do a particular job or role. Volunteering can also help you to gain experience in a real situation. So a lot of time with kind of careers and looking at jobs, you will look at information online, look at what is involved, but there's nothing quite like actually gaining experience, actually doing that kind of job or role. Volunteering can also help you access training and gain certificates. So with some volunteering, there can be opportunities, for example, if you wanted to volunteer as a mentor for children or for younger adults, you could often do some training courses around mentoring, around sort of basic counselling. There are also, if, for example, you want to go into healthcare, there can be opportunities to gain qualifications in first aid. Volunteering can also help improve your CV. And a CV, as you probably learn in school, will be kind of things where you can sort of document your kind of experiences, your skills, and your abilities and your qualifications to help apply for jobs in future. And it's one of the key documents used for looking for work. And if you haven't got much work experience, any volunteering you can do can help and go towards that sort of work experience section. It can also inform the skills and abilities section of your CV. So you can pull out skills that you've gained from your work experience and your volunteering to put into that section. And it can also help with the reference section. So usually at the end of a CV, you have referees or references, and those are people who will vouch for you and say what kind of things you've done in work and what kind of skills you've got. And you can use often a voluntary placement person as somebody who can give you a reference. And volunteering can also help you in a future interview for a job or a course. So say, for example, you're going to university in future and you have an interview for a nursing course or a teaching course. They will often ask you about any work experience you've got or any voluntary experience that you have in those kind of settings. And you could call on your kind of experiences as a volunteer. Also, there are often different questions at an interview, which we call scenario questions. So an employer may ask you, what would you do in this situation? How would you deal with a customer who's complaining, for example? Or you might have the kind of questions where you have to give an example of where you've worked in a team or where you have shown initiative. And you could refer back to things you've learned or situations you've been through in your volunteering work. Okay. So what skills can volunteering help you demonstrate? So communication skills are one of the key skills that employers look for. And whatever type of volunteering you're doing, you'll usually demonstrate your communication skills. This can be verbal skills, so speaking, it can be written skills, your digital skills on a computer, your listening skills. And that ability to converse with people, developing those skills, is something you can really develop through volunteering. Organisational skills. So when you do any volunteer placement, you will have to get yourself up, get to the placement, organise your day. And that's a key skill that employers look for. Using your initiative. So as you sort of get used to any kind of volunteer placement, you will have opportunities to use your initiative. And that could be situations where, for example, you're in a charity shop and you see a customer who's looking puzzled or unsure what to do, and you will go and ask them, can I help you? You could be in, say, a stables, and you can see an area needs tidying up, and you will just go and do that straight away. You won't wait for somebody to ask you to do it. So it's using your initiative. Reliability and punctuality are two key things that employers look for. And if you've done volunteering and you can show you've done volunteering, usually it means you're reliable, you've shown up on time, and you've given a regular commitment. Teamwork is another key skill that is really important for most employers. And whatever kind of volunteering and placement you do, you will usually have to show some teamwork. It could be in a small team with a couple of people, it could be with a bigger team, but usually there will be ways that you will demonstrate teamwork. Being trustworthy is a key thing that employers look for. And normally, if you've got on your CV that you've done some voluntary work, it shows that you are recognised as a trustworthy person. And leadership. So sometimes people want to have a role in future, in a future career, where they're a leader. So they may be leading a group of people, managing a small team. And there are lots of different work experience voluntary placements where you can demonstrate those skills. So an example would be if you're doing an activity scheme for people in the summer holidays where they're doing a range of sports, you would be leading that group of young people or that group of children on those activities, and it'd be a really key skill that you could demonstrate. So what type of volunteering can you do? So there are many types of voluntary work that you could do, and in this next couple of slides, I'm just going to show you some examples of the type of voluntary work that people do. So the first one is charity shops. So if you live in a city, a town, or even a village, there will usually be a charity shop where you can go in and sort of maybe buy gifts or buy different things. And the people who work in those charity shops are usually volunteers. So they're giving their time for that charity and giving it for free. And the kind of skills you could get from working in a charity shop, you could get experience working behind a till. You could be gaining experience stock taking, dealing with customers, finding out lots more about how that business works. And it can be a really good experience for people who want to get into sort of retail as a career, but it can also be really good for everybody just to sort of develop those kind of communication skills. Gardening is another one. So there's lots of opportunities in organisations to do sort of gardening and outdoor work. So you've got organisations like the National Trust who use volunteers in their gardens. You've got other community projects where you can do gardening to help a community area. And there are often opportunities in sort of the outdoor areas of care homes or individuals who will need help with gardening. Environmental work. So there's lots of different ways in which you can help with the environment. So there's things like picking up litter, dry stone walling, creating nature trails, fence repair, and all of these will help with the environment. Working with elderly people. So during this current pandemic, there have been lots of great examples of people helping the elderly. So that could be helping people with shopping. It could be helping by collecting prescriptions from the pharmacy and delivering it to people's houses. It can be just being a friendly voice on the end of a phone, so people who an elderly person or a vulnerable person can talk to. And generally, there's also usually opportunities in care homes to help out and volunteer, and sometimes individually with people in the community. Work with young people. So there can be lots of different opportunities for holiday schemes, working in youth clubs, gaining experience for people who want to work in that kind of environment in the future. And work with animals. So that can range from things like working in a cats and dogs home, could be working in a stables, could be helping out an elderly person or somebody who needs help in walking their pet dog. So now just to reiterate some of the kind of things you can do voluntarily in a visual way. This is one example of some volunteering in the community. So if you've ever been part of an under-16s football team, under-14s hockey team, lots of different teams, then there's usually somebody who's sort of the manager of those teams. And that person is often a volunteer. So they're doing it to help the community, to give their time to people, and they may be using it also to help their own career. Hospitals. So often in hospitals, there's lots of people who do voluntary work in hospitals, and that can range from somebody who's being a general guide, greeting people and guiding them around the hospital. It could be somebody working in a shop within the hospital. It could be a ward visitor working on a particular department. It could even be hospital radio. Now, at the moment, there may be limited opportunities in the hospital because of the current sort of virus situation, but as that kind of changes, there will be opening up more opportunities for the future. And often if you want to get into a career in nursing, for example, anything you've done voluntarily within a hospital will be very advantageous for that kind of career. Again, working with animals, so that can range from working with sort of small animals, working with dogs. It could even be voluntary work within a zoo or wildlife park. If you ever go to an event like say a football match or go to a concert, there will often be people there in a kind of stewarding sort of role or sort of a safety role, and they can often be people from St. John Ambulance or the Red Cross who can provide sort of first aid where needed. And if you do voluntary work with them, you are often able to gain first aid certificates and things like that, which could be beneficial for the future. So really good opportunities, especially if you want a career, say, as an ambulance care assistant or as a paramedic. Working with children. So lots of people want to get into a career working with children, either in a nursery or in a primary school. And there are lots of opportunities to do work experience volunteering in that kind of environment. So it could be really good for just trying to find out a bit more about the role. And sometimes if you've been volunteering, say in a nursery, they are more likely then to take you on in future if you want to, as an apprentice or as a job. And again, outdoors. There's lots of opportunities. If you want to work outdoors and you enjoy sort of being outdoors or practical work, lots of kind of opportunities to do that type of volunteering. So I'm just going to come on to some common questions that are asked about volunteering. So first of all, at what age can I become a volunteer? So the answer to that question is any age. There are people who are doing volunteering in their early teens, and there's people who still do volunteering in their 70s, 80s. So overall, it can be any age that you can do volunteering. Do I have to be a certain age for some types of volunteering? Well, the answer to that is yes. So sometimes there can be restrictions. So I mentioned earlier about working in a hospital, and normally you would have to be at least 16 to work in a hospital, and there might be some roles where they're kind of, say, 18. Another example of where you have to be a certain age is driving. So there's some driving roles, like being a volunteer driver, where you can take people to maybe a healthcare appointment or to the hospital. And obviously you'd have to be a certain age to be able to do that kind of work. But whatever kind of volunteering you want to do, there should be something that would fit in with whatever age you are. How many hours will I have to do each week? Well, this can be any kind of hours. So some people do volunteering for a couple of hours a week. Other people will do a day a week, a half a day a week, 2 days a week. It really varies from one kind of volunteer role to another. Sometimes there are some kind of volunteering where you get a lot of training and they will want a commitment from you. So you may do some training courses and they will want a commitment over a period of, say, 6 months, where you have to give half a day a week. But again, whatever you want to do and how many hours you can give, there's usually opportunities to do volunteering. Can I volunteer and go to college or sixth form at the same time? Absolutely. So there's lots of people who may be doing a course at college or doing a course at sixth form who have a little break within that kind of timetable where they can go and do a voluntary placement somewhere, say a nursery or in another environment, which will also help them with all the skills they will need for the future steps. And some people do volunteering of an evening or of a weekend. It's mainly making sure that it kind of fits in with your study and you don't overload yourself. Will I get paid to volunteer? Simple answer to that is no, because you're doing volunteering for a lot of other benefits. You don't get paid for it. Could I get help with travel expenses? So I know some people worry when they look at volunteering, oh, how will I get there? I haven't got any money or I can't afford it. Well, yes, a lot of organisations will reimburse things like bus fares, train fares to enable you to do that voluntary work. And also, if you were doing a voluntary work, for example, for a whole day, sometimes that organisation may help with your food for that day. So they may provide a lunch for you. What happens if I want to leave my voluntary work? So sometimes there's reasons why we have to then move on from that voluntary work because we're kind of doing something else or we've got a full-time job and we can't fit it in. And it's not like a job where you've got to give a sort of period of notice, but a good courtesy is to give that employer, that person you're doing a voluntary work for, a little bit of notice to say, yep, I've got to leave this placement, but I'll carry on for the next 4 weeks or 3 weeks. So you know you can then get someone else to do that voluntary work. So where can I find out more about volunteering? So you may be able to contact directly any place where you might like to do some volunteering, such as a hospital, charity shop, sports club, animal shelter. So you could either do that by looking at their websites. Often on their websites, they have a section which says volunteering and a person to contact. Or it could be that for some placements, like if you saw a charity shop you wanted to help out in, you may be able to go in and ask somebody within there, how do I get involved with working here? And they may be able to put you onto someone or give you a form which can sort of help start there. You might be also able to use the Do-It-org website. So this is a really good website for volunteering opportunities in your area. So for example, you could go on there and type in, I want to find an animal care placement within Exeter, and it will come up with any animal care placements within that area. There may also be a volunteer bureau where you live that you can visit. So in a lot of towns and cities, there is a volunteer bureau where you can go in, book an appointment, and they will talk to you about what opportunities there are and kind of match you to any kind of volunteering. And finally, the Prince's Trust is an organisation that offers information about volunteering for young people. So have a research on their website about the kind of volunteering opportunities that are available. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. Is there any kind of questions?
Thank you, Stuart. Lots and lots of useful information there. I think you've given a really, really good explanation of why volunteering is the thing that lots of people should really consider. We have a couple of questions. So the first one is there any specific type of volunteering work that an employer will pick out? So I think the question is, are employers more favourable to some types of volunteering over others?
Well, the first thing to say is any kind of volunteering you do can help demonstrate a lot of the skills that we mentioned. So all the kind of things they can pull out, and an employer will look on that really favourably. There may be certain roles you're going for. So if, for example, you were looking at nursing, they will look for roles within that kind of healthcare field. So that would be the real beneficial for that kind of job. And the same if, say, you wanted to work with children, you'll be looking for work experience in that area. But overall, any type of volunteering can be really beneficial.
Thanks, Stuart. I think I'd agree with that, because I think any kind of volunteering will give you what we call transferable skills. So, for example, if you're working in a charity shop and you build your skill of working with people, that could possibly transfer to working in a paid role in the shop, or even something like working in an office if you've got to use the telephone and deal with members of the public. So thank you, that's a good answer. We've got another sort of specific question here. I would like to be an end-of-life carer. How could I find out about any opportunities to volunteer in that area?
I mean, with kind of roles like that, you'd probably be looking at the kind of different opportunities that are available in sort of different hospitals, hospices, and look at what they're looking for. Look at their, so if you went on a local hospice website as an example, you would be able to see what kind of voluntary opportunities they have, any kind of restrictions on age and things like that, and look at how you get involved. So it's kind of research into the kind of places where you would do that work, and then approaching them and seeing what kind of things you have to do to then sort of get involved with that work. And similarly with kind of hospital environments.
Thank you. I think looking at the NHS website and also charities like Marie Curie and Hospice Care, those are the places to get a lot more information about that and the kinds of voluntary roles that they might need to offer. So we've got two more, and I think that's the only ones we've got time for now. Do you have to have a lot of confidence to be able to volunteer?
Absolutely not. So with volunteering, it can help build your confidence. So lots of people start off they're feeling no confidence at all, but once you made that mistake, made that step of sort of approaching volunteering, it can help build your skills, build your confidence up. So it's really good to sort of, if you haven't got a lot of confidence, for building that up and then developing that kind of level of skill and confidence in yourself.
Thank you. And of course, there's lots of different voluntary roles. So, for example, if you didn't feel confident to deal with members of public in, say, a charity shop or something, perhaps you could help in the stockroom or something like that. Okay, very last question now. Would taking part in the Duke of Edinburgh Award count as volunteering?
Yes, because as part of Duke of Edinburgh Award, I know you can do like voluntary placements and things like that. So that would be a good example of volunteering, and something you can do from quite a young age. So yeah, that would be a good example of volunteering.
Okay, thank you very much. The very last one, there's an extra one actually, we're having a special need or disability affect getting a volunteer place. I don't think so. I mean, I can speak personally. I have been into charity shops, I've been into other situations and have been served or helped by a person with a disability, whether that's a learning disability, whether it's a physical disability. So no, just like any employer, a volunteering placement has like a legal responsibility to make what we call reasonable adjustments. So I think the best thing to do is if you do happen to have a disability of some sort, it's a really good idea to maybe contact the volunteer placement and have a conversation and explain what needs you've got, maybe with the help of an adult, possibly, if you need that, and have a conversation about what they can offer you, how they can best support you to make sure that you're still able to participate. Lovely, thank you very much. Okay, so thank you very much for taking part. So as you can see there, we are offering these webinars all week. Please come to any of our future webinars if you're able to. Other than that, thank you for attending, and thank you very much to Stuart.
Thank you.